Hello everyone, my name is Emanuela.
And I'm Robert. Welcome to Tabletop Tutorials.
Today, we're going to show you a sample playthrough of the solo/co-op mode for Cerebria the Inside World. For this video, we are assuming that you already know the core game and Ego's setup and rules. If you are not familiar with them, please watch our videos linked in the description below. In this playthrough, we will be playing the game up to 2 revelations and then also cover how final scoring would go. Because Ego is a very intelligent AI and worthy opponent, we will be very careful and methodical in explaining how Ego makes its choices and carries out its actions in Cerebria as we play. We are playing this game with the full rules, though the basic rules are also compatible with Ego.
Emanuela is playing as Anxiety and Hatred on Team Gloom, with Liveliness as the hidden aspiration, while Ego, whose turns are narrated by me, plays Bliss with Empathy as its gatekeeper and Delight as its influencer. The first common aspiration is Reflection. Everything is already set up, so let's begin playing.
For 2 willpower, Anxiety invokes Disgust with 1 essence, taking control of the network of thoughts. Then, for 2 willpower, Anxiety moves to share a space with Empathy. Anxiety's last action is to spend 2 willpower to invoke Loneliness with 1 essence, gaining a +1 token because of Loneliness's emotion power and taking control of the frontier. Lastly, Anxiety takes 1 ambition and 1 willpower from the supply because it has none at the end of its turn. Now, it's Ego's turn with the gatekeeper, Empathy.
Ego's turns always start the same way, and that's with determining Ego's target aspiration, starting with the common aspiration. Right now, Ego is losing Reflection, 0 realm frontier pairs to Gloom's 1, so this is its target. Now, Ego performs an action according to its operation cards. At the end of setup, Ego had Judgment as its first card. Now Ego draws its second card, Defiance, with a potential counterclockwise move. This tells us that Ego will raise an opposing fortress, but there are none, so Ego will fortify instead. Ego spirits can move 1 space clockwise or counterclockwise per operation to carry out their actions, so the Willow of Values, Valley of Motives, Cradle of Senses, and Network of Thoughts are all the realms within Empathy's reach. Like in the base game, Ego cannot fortify a realm that is controlled by its opponent, so Ego has to decide between fortifying the Willow of Values and the Valley of Motives. Ego breaks ties for the fortify action starting with most impact. Neither realm would improve Ego's standing in Reflection because neither realm has an opposing frontier controlled by Bliss. Fortifying either realm would gain Ego control of a realm, and fortifying does not affect frontier control. The next tiebreaker is the realm that does not require Ego to move its active spirit, which is the Valley of Motives. So Empathy fortifies the Valley of Motives, gaining control of the realm. After performing its action, Ego spirits might move, and the second operation card does show a counterclockwise move. Because Empathy did not move to carry out its action, it moves now to this frontier space. After moving, Ego absorbs from the origin. Ego is still losing the common aspiration, so Empathy absorbs 1 willpower from the largest sphere, which is either 1. The next tiebreaker is the sphere that is adjacent to an Ego fortress, so Empathy takes and keeps 1 willpower from Diligence, and the origin spins as usual. Finally, we discard Ego's operation cards and draw a new one, Endeavor. It's now Hatred's turn.
First, Hatred absorbs 3 willpower from Humility, gaining 1 essence from the supply. For 1 willpower, Hatred moves 1 frontier space. Then, for 3 willpower, Hatred fortifies the Willow of Values, gaining control of it. Finally, using its Spirit ability, Hatred spends 1 willpower and 1 ambition to invoke Bitterness with 2 essence, 1 from its board and 1 from the supply, and takes control of the frontier. At the end of the turn, Hatred gains 1 ambition. It's now Delight's turn.
Ego is still losing the common aspiration, so reflection is its target. The second operation card is Judgment with a potential bonus. This means that Ego will draw 3 cards and invoke the best one with 2 essence. Ego draws Comfort, Safety, and Sociability. The best card is one that introduces a new vibe, which at this point in the game is all 3. The next tiebreaker is the card with the highest maximum intensity, which is Safety, so Comfort and Sociability go to the bottom of Ego's emotion deck in a random order. Within Delight's reach are these 7 emotion slots. We start narrowing down this pool by deciding which slot invoking an emotion onto would have the most impact, meaning the emotion slots that would help Ego gain a better standing in its target aspiration. Ego is losing reflection with 0 Realm Frontier pairs to Gloom's 3. When breaking ties for invoke, it's important to keep in mind the total intensity of the emotion once it's invoked. Safety will be invoked with 2 essence, so it'll have an intensity of 2. If Ego were to invoke Safety in this slot, Ego would simply gain a Realm Frontier pair, a change of 1. However, in the other 6 slots, Ego can force a change by 2, either by taking away 2 of Gloom's Realm Frontier pairs or by taking away 1 of Gloom's Realm Frontier pairs and also gaining itself a pair. So Ego focuses on these 6 slots. The next tiebreaker for most impact is gaining or neutralizing a realm, which Ego can accomplish with any of the 6 slots. The same is true for the next tiebreaker for gaining or neutralizing a frontier. The next tiebreaker comes from the invoke action. Ego simply chooses the slot closest to it. The only slot that Delight can reach without moving is this frontier slot, so Ego invokes Safety here with 2 essence, taking control of the network of thoughts and the frontier. Remember that the operation card also included a bonus action, which shows that Ego adds 1 more essence onto the invoked emotion. This happens after Ego takes its operation card action, so it is not taken into account for determining the best emotion slot. After performing the actions on the operation cards, Ego is still losing in the target aspiration, so Delight absorbs and keeps 1 willpower from knowledge. The operation cards are discarded and we draw a new one for Ego, Endeavor. It's now Anxiety's turn.
For 1 willpower, Anxiety moves over 1 frontier space. Here, Anxiety absorbs 3 willpower from Humility and gains 1 essence from the supply. Then, for 1 willpower, Anxiety moves to the network of thoughts and then spends 2 willpower to use its spirit ability to invoke a 3rd Bleakness with 1 essence, taking control of the network of thoughts. Anxiety has no willpower, so it gains 1. And it takes 1 ambition at the end of its turn. It's now Empathy's turn.
Ego is losing the common aspiration 3 to 1, so this is its target. Ego's second card is Endeavor, which shows that Ego will intensify an emotion with 2 essence and a +1 intensity token. The only emotions that Empathy can intensify are the Brightness emotion cards. The first tiebreaker is the emotion that would receive the biggest total change in intensity, which is either 1. The next tiebreaker is the emotion closest to Empathy, which is either 1. Finally, the last tiebreaker is the emotion clockwise to the Spirit, which is the Brightness in the Valley of Motives. So, Empathy moves and intensifies Brightness with 1 essence and a +1 token and gains the Frontier. Notice that Brightness could only hold 1 additional essence instead of the 2 called for by the operation cards. This means that Ego's operation had a partial fail. Referring to the back page of the rulebook, we would see that Ego accounts for this partial fail by gaining 1 point on its Wheel of Intentions. Since the operation cards don't show a move, and because Ego's spirit has already moved, Empathy now absorbs. Ego is still losing the target aspiration, so Empathy absorbs and keeps 1 willpower from the largest sphere. They're tied, so Ego chooses from the sphere closest to an Ego fortress, which is Commitment. The operation cards are discarded and we draw a new one for Ego, Judgment. It's now Hatred's turn.
First, Hatred discards Embarrassment to upgrade Surmount with a blue vibe. Using its Spirit ability, Hatred pays 1 willpower to move to the Land of Desires. Hatred then spends 2 Ambition to gain an additional action. For 1 willpower, Hatred uses the Valley of Motives to gain 4 willpower. Then, for 1 willpower, Hatred uses the Network of Thoughts to move this bleakness to the Land of Desires, making it neutral. Next, for 1 willpower, Hatred moves to the adjacent frontier space, where it absorbs 1 willpower from Humility and gains an essence from the supply, triggering a revelation.
During a revelation, Ego can spend its stored willpower to improve its standings in the aspirations, starting with the common aspiration. Team Gloom is winning Reflection 3 Realm Frontier pairs to Ego's 1. Ego spends 3 willpower to knock Gloom down by 2, making the standings 1-1, so Ego and Gloom are tied for Reflection. Then, Ego checks Gloom's hidden aspiration and tries to force a tie, if possible. Because Ego has no remaining willpower, Gloom easily wins Liveliness with 7 essence to Ego's 6. Lastly, Ego tries to win its hidden aspiration, which is Versatility, but again it has no willpower left. Ego loses Versatility 1 vibe to Gloom's 3 different vibes. Now, we add fragments. So Hatred adds a minor fragment and Ego adds none. Hatred then adds the adjacent fortress to the identity, gaining 1 point on Gloom's Wheel of Intentions for accomplishing this. Ego is now able to gain points for willpower. Ego started the revelation with 3 willpower but has none left, so it gains no points. Ego gains willpower for each fragment Gloom just added to the identity, so Ego gains 2 willpower. The new common aspiration is Versatility. Gloom's hidden aspiration is Fortitude, and Ego's hidden aspiration is the next card face down.
At the end of Hatred's turn, it draws Anger and Jealousy. It's Delight's turn.
Ego is losing Versatility 1 vibe to Gloom's 3 different vibes, so this is its target aspiration. The second operation card is Judgment, with a potential counterclockwise move. This means that Ego performs 2 special operations. Referring to the back of the rulebook's priority orders for special operations in each aspiration, we see that for Versatility, Ego will quell up to 2 essence in order to remove a vibe. Bitterness and Disgust are the only valid targets, and both are within reach. Starting with most impact, quelling either one improves Ego's standing and Versatility, but quelling Bitterness would also change realm control in the Willow of Values in Ego's favor, so Delight quells Bitterness, discarding it to the bottom of Hatred's deck, gaining the Frontier, and making the Willow of Values neutral. After each special operation, Ego checks its standing in the target aspiration. In this case, it has improved from 1 to Gloom's 3 to 1 to 2. Now, Ego performs its second special operation. Ego is still losing Versatility, so it will quell again. Disgust is the only possible target, and it's within reach, so Delight moves and quells Disgust, discarding it to the bottom of Anxiety's deck, making the Frontier neutral. Again, Ego's standing improves from 1 to 2 to 1 to 1. Because Ego has already moved in order to carry out its actions, Ego does not move counterclockwise as shown on the second operation card. Ego is still not winning its target aspiration, so Delight absorbs and keeps 1 willpower from Knowledge. After discarding the 2 operation cards, we draw a new one, Judgment. It's now Anxiety's turn.
Anxiety spends 1 willpower to use the Valley of Motives to gain 4 willpower. Then it absorbs 2 willpower from Diligence, gaining another 2 willpower. For 0 willpower, Anxiety uses the Cradle of Senses to draw Boredom, then spends 2 willpower to also draw Mistrust. Anxiety discards Mistrust in order to unlock Inner Force with a green vibe. For 4 willpower, Anxiety invokes Boredom with 1 essence from the supply, gaining control of the frontier. Boredom's emotion power does not apply in a game against Ego, so Anxiety simply gains 2 willpower. This happens for all emotion cards whose powers do not apply in this situation. Finally, Anxiety gains 1 ambition. It's Empathy's turn.
Ego is losing versatility, so this is its target. The second card is Defiance, with a potential clockwise move. This shows Ego will raise a Gloom Fortress if possible, or fortify 1 realm. There are no fortresses available to raise, and the only realm that Empathy can fortify within reach is the Willow of Values, so Empathy moves 1 frontier space over, fortifies the Willow of Values, and gains control. Because Empathy has already moved, Ego ignores the move on Defiance. Ego is still losing the common aspiration, so Empathy takes and keeps 1 willpower from the largest sphere, Commitment. After discarding Ego's 2 operation cards, we draw a new one, Endeavor. It's now Hatred's turn.
For 1 willpower, Hatred uses the Valley of Motives to gain 4 willpower. Hatred then discards Anger to unlock Raise with a red vibe. Using its Spirit ability, Hatred spends 3 willpower and 1 ambition to raise Ego's Fortress in the Willow of Values, making it neutral, and gains an additional action. For 2 willpower, Hatred invokes Jealousy with 1 essence, making the frontier neutral and gaining control of the Willow of Values. Like with Boredom's emotion power, Jealousy's emotion power doesn't apply in an Ego game, so Hatred gains 2 willpower. Then, for 3 willpower, Hatred fortifies the Land of Desires, gaining control. Finally, Hatred absorbs 2 willpower from Diligence, gaining an additional 2 willpower. At the end of its turn, Hatred gains 1 ambition. It's Delight's turn.
Ego is losing versatility, so this is its target. The second operation card is Defiance, with a potential bonus. This tells us that Ego will quell up to 2 essence from an emotion. Jealousy, these 2 bleakness cards, Boredom, and Loneliness are all within Delight's reach. Going by most impact, quelling either Jealousy, Boredom, or Loneliness improves Ego's standing in the target aspiration. The quell action's first tiebreaker is the emotion with the highest current intensity, which is Loneliness with an intensity of 2. So, Delight moves and quells Loneliness, discarding it to the bottom of Anxiety's deck and making the Cradle of Senses neutral. Even though Delight was only able to quell 1 essence off Loneliness, the action's description stating up to 2 essence on the back page of the rulebook means this is not a partial fail. The bonus shows that Ego will quell an additional essence or gain 1 point if not possible, so Ego gains a point. Delight does not move at the end of the turn. Because Ego is still losing the common aspiration, Delight absorbs and keeps 1 willpower from Knowledge. After discarding the 2 operation cards and shuffling a new draw pile, we draw Defiance for Ego's next turn. It's now Anxiety's turn.
First, Anxiety spends 1 ambition to upgrade move with Haste, using a yellow vibe. For 3 willpower, anxiety moves to the Cradle of Senses. Then, for 1 willpower, anxiety uses the Valley of Motives to gain 4 willpower. For 3 willpower, anxiety fortifies the Cradle of Senses, gaining control. Anxiety then absorbs 2 willpower from Diligence, gaining an additional 2 willpower and triggering a revelation.
As before, Ego can spend its stored willpower to force a win or tie in the aspirations. Gloom is winning versatility, 2 different vibes to Ego's 1, so Ego spends 3 willpower to knock Gloom down to 0, allowing Ego to win the common aspiration. Gloom is winning its hidden aspiration 2 to 1, so Ego spends 2 willpower to force a tie. Ego's hidden aspiration is Attitude, which it's losing, and it has no willpower left to spend. So, Ego adds a minor fragment to the identity. The next common aspiration is Awareness. Gloom did not place any fragments, so it chooses its next hidden aspiration, Attitude, from the top 3 cards. Ego has no leftover willpower, so it scores no points, and Gloom did not add any fragments, so Ego does not gain any willpower.
At the end of its turn, anxiety gains 1 ambition.
The game ends as in the base game, except that Ego's Wheel of Intentions reaching 20 does not trigger game end. But let's say we were to score now. At the end of the game, Ego gains points for any fortresses remaining on the main board, 2 points for regular fortresses and 4 points for exalted fortresses. So, Ego has 3 points, plus 2 points, plus 2 points equaling 7. And Gloom has 6 points plus 1 point equaling 7. There is no capping fragment, so the game would end in a tie.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this partial playthrough. Should you still have questions, please don't hesitate to check out the game's FAQ and Errata post on BGG, which we'll link below. Or if there's a specific part of this video that you'd like us to explain, please comment on the video and include a timestamp. Check out the rest of our channel for more board game tutorials, including both rules explanations and playthrough videos.